Yo, let's talk about it. What is up, everyone? It's your boy Twan Agiovi, and we're here. So I'm not like I would say consistent streamer, nor is that my everyday profession. But that being said, I do like to keep up with what's going on. I think with streaming, it's one of those things where it's just evolved so much since I was younger. From it being only just like video games, to and people streaming League of Legends, Overwatch, even before that Counter Strike, right? To now people are in person. People are having LeBron James on stream. People are making music with famous artists on stream. It's evolved so much, and I love keeping up with it and just staying in tune with what's going on. And also, I'm just very excited to see where streaming has become, or what streaming has become, and the amount of Black creators that have just become wildly successful and have really set the tone and set the pace for what this industry is. But man, these streamer awards were quite a disaster. There was a lot of things that happened in the streamer awards that were pretty crazy. I'd say caused, I think, a lot of conversation, which is good because more people are talking about it. But there's a lot of drama that happened, and I'll tell you why I think that's a good thing, which is probably a hot take. So we can go through each of the big moments that happened here, and we can talk about each one. And then maybe at the end here, I'll tell you why I think this is a good thing. So the first incident that happened was they had some her name's FanFan. I don't really watch FanFan, but she's a Twitch streamer, right? Apparently she's known for her dark humor. And when it comes to her dark humor, I don't think she's a comedian. I don't think she should be on the floor telling jokes. She's not Kevin Hart. She's not Ricky Gervais. She's not any of these people that are roasters. She's not a Jeff Ross, right? She's just a Twitch streamer. She is not a comedian. And so making her have this role where she's supposed to be going on the floor and roasting people is probably just not the best position for her to be in, because a lot of her jokes are probably going to miss. They're just not going to land very well. And so let's just watch this first one.
Oh, and also, congrats on...
Go back here.
So congratulations to you. Oh, and also...
they didn't have the streamer university. Wait.
25 streamer awards. And this tweet went extremely viral. This
Wait,
is some streamer who goes by time.
Oh, and also, congrats on your new documentary with 50 Cent. That was you, right?
She tried to take a shot saying he looks like Diddy, right? He with the new haircut. Which they do there is some look on, dude. I'm not gonna lie. It's not too far off. Granted, do I like the fact that it's not one of his homies saying it, not one of the people in his crew saying it? I think that's weird, right? Even honestly, not even. This is a bad photo, but they don't even look alike. So it was just a bad. It was just a really bad joke, and I think the issue is, and what's really interesting about this is that a lot of the things that were said had racial undertones to it, and it wasn't on purpose. I don't think FanFan was out here being like, "Yo, I'm gonna be racist." Like, that wasn't her plan, and I don't think she had it with racist intent. But man, and we'll talk about this later, but it just looks really bad. The fact that you're just saying, oh, Tyson At looks like Diddy, you're just saying like two black people look alike. Great joke. This was a bottom of the barrel joke you could have made, and it just didn't land. But also, I've heard mixed things on how Tyleo hopped in here and talked about this and was jumping and defending Kai. I also don't think that was the right approach. This FanFan just bombed on a joke. Nobody really laughed on it. You can just let that thing sink in. She knows that joke did not hit. But let's continue watching. See, the reaction was just like that. Nobody really thought that was funny. Everyone was just like, whatever, right? And then when this happens here,
if you all gonna be on the mic, now turn this shit on. If you all gonna be on the mic making jokes, at least let it be funny.
Is that Travis Scott? Genuine question.
so in that, I don't know what the YouTube video this is. Is that Travis Scott? Shut up. That was also just, that was racially motivated. There was no reason for this dude to say that. Is that Travis Scott? Bro, not even the same skin tone. Doesn't look like Travis. Like, who is this? Why is this the video that I picked? I literally just wanted a compilation of all the clips, and then I picked one where he's like, is that Travis Scott? Come on, bro. Anyways, so that being said, he jumps in and is basically like, if you're gonna be on the mic, you gotta be funny. Brother, you are making this bigger than it needs to be, right? He's just trying to make a joke. It missed. Like, you can just let it move on. I know people are like, yo, if that's your dude, like, you want to defend him and he thought he was gonna dig. So I can't even be mad at him defending Kai because that's his friend. But like, at the end of the day, I think if Kai was upset about it, he could have said something like, you don't need to jump in and like defend him for this. You don't need to go do all that. I think everybody was getting it. Everybody was receiving jokes here and there and taking digs. If you watch any comedy roast, people get it worse than that in a comedy roast, right? It's okay. It's whatever. It's not like that. Nobody thinks Kai Cenat's Diddy. Straight up. It was a bad joke. Everybody knew it was a bad joke. It's whatever. Everyone's having fun. It's an award show. This isn't like, they're not out here taking digs at people out of ill intention of their heart. They're just making digs at everyone. But we'll talk about once again the perception. And I think that was one thing that probably also played a role into it, was there was a lot of things that were said that were just looked really bad, especially from the outside looking in, if you don't have context on things. Let's see if they have the other clips here, because what is this?
Is he hiding? Rakai?
Oh, this was bad too.
Yo.
What's the coolest thing you've ever stolen?
Yeah.
Don't answer the test.
Hey, yo.
Don't answer it.
So, oh my God, that was crazy, because I remember actually watching that a little bit live. I watched it for a little bit and I caught that. And I didn't know the context for what that was. So I just was like, oh my God, what is she doing? Why would she say that? Is she just accusing 17-year-old black kid of some little kid of stealing? That has to be racist. That's crazy. And then you look into it and he was banned on Twitch for a stealing incident. But that being said, like, she, unfortunately for Cutie Cinderella, who's putting on a great event, is like, she's not thinking about what does the outside world who doesn't know everything in the Twitch context think about when they see something like that. And so when you hear something like that, you're like, and she's just looking at a black teenager and she's accusing him of stealing or saying, what's the craziest thing you've stolen? Are you crazy? Bro, if you don't have any context and you're looking at that looks insane. You look insane. You look like barbecue Becky. You look like you call the cops on black people at barbecues. Are you out of your mind? But obviously, because you're not thinking about that, you just don't think about race all the time or how that can look. Like, you're just saying that and you're like, oh, that's fine. I'm not gonna have any consequences from that. But if she's shocked that people were upset about that, she shouldn't be. And I think she, based on the things she said after, she 100% gets it. But it's one of those things where it's just like, man, they don't think about that. She's not thinking about that in the moment. But it's, and I think, and this is going to go to, once again, at the end of the video when I talk about why I think it's good. This is a really good learning moment. This is an insanely good learning moment, right? But when I saw that, I was just like, yo, are you insane? What is this? So there was the cutie Cinderella moment.
All right, extra Emily.
It's super awkward. You can tell, yo, what the fuck are we talking about here? What are we doing? And so what's the other incident here? We got a couple other incidents that occur, right? Burt Peanut,
awards.
congrats to him, dude. Absolute. That was a great moment of the Streamer Awards. I don't even watch Burt Peanut. I just discovered him from that. Oh, this was the worst thing, I think, in my opinion. And this has nothing to do with the racial aspects. This was just a bad look. And she was saying that she was drunk and everything. Obviously, if she is struggling with substance issues, she needs to probably work on that and get that checked out. But that being said, like, this wasn't just because you're not in that circle of streamer, right? So you don't know them doesn't mean that they're not big and doesn't mean that they haven't been doing insane things as it relates to Twitch streaming. You can be in a different circle and not know what's going on in that other circle, and they could still be successful, right? FaZe Adapt has been having an incredible year streaming. Not to mention, he's been streaming for a very long time. He's had the biggest comeback probably out of any streamer. And so honestly, kudos to him for being able to be as big as he is now. Like that, I think that deserves a lot of respect. And just because she doesn't hang around those circles and is not plugged into them, doesn't mean that he didn't deserve to win Breakout Streamer of the Year. Not to mention,
Breakout Streamer of the Year went to.
not to mention,
Real quick, y'all. I know Breakout Streamer of the Year went to.
Breakout not to mention she stuttered. She could not even get the words out. She was so nervous to do it. Number one, if you said that thing slick, at least it would have came out. It would have came out hard, and it would have probably been more of a viral moment. But she stuttered on it. Like, India, come on. If you're lit too, now I don't even think you were lit. If you were lit, you would have said that shit confidently. But you might have not actually been lit. Even you might have been dead sober because you stuttered. You came up there nervous and say it with your chest, India. But that being said, she straight up just like discredited the streamer who won. Meanwhile, everyone's getting recognition, right? Everyone is working really hard in that industry. Everybody is trying incredibly hard to be successful and really break the mold. TDG had a great year, right? Rakai had a great year. FaZe Adapt had a great year. They all had great years. But just because you don't know that one streamer doesn't mean that you don't deserve to win, right? And it's even the Grammys. Maybe I don't listen to Sabrina Carpenter that much, but I can't deny that she's not having a great year. And if she won an Artist of the Year award, I couldn't be mad about it, right? I could not be mad. So she went on stage. She tried to have a little viral ad moment. And it just did not land. Did not lando with anybody, and it just looked really bad.
And congratulations, and we respect you for what you did. But Rakai should have won Breakout Streamer of the Year and DDG. I don't know what y'all say.
And then to go and walk off stage, she did something. It's just a bad look. I just think as a group of black streamers, we cannot fit into like these stereotypes, bro. We just can't. Especially, you do what you want, do what you will. If you want to go do that, fine. But we're just living in these moments where we're like at the Streamer Awards. There's an opportunity to be really have a lot of sportsmanship and be excited for other streamers and network with other streamers. India Love is like looking at is going on stage and discrediting other streamers. I just don't think that that's the move. It's just not the move. You don't need to do that. Just chill. Hang back. You can tell Rakai and DDG, hey, I think you should have won. That's it. You know what I mean? But you don't need to go on stage and discredit someone else's hard work. Let's see what else.
Possible. Hassan, if you see
Oh, we got
Seal, get up. You can use your remote.
Hassan got it bad. Hassan got it pretty bad with the dog collar. So that kind of goes into my just next topic. There was the other thing too, where apparently after the FanFan joke, there was somebody in the bathroom who was apparently physically upset and very emotional about a joke that was made against Kai Cenat. What was it? Kai Cenat, bathroom, stream. I don't even know what to look for. Oh, this guy.
And then we went to an intermission. I go down to the bathroom. As I walk in the bathroom, I hear somebody come in and go, yo, that bitch. So unfortunately, we have some crazy.
So
I hear somebody come in and go, man, that bitch, I'll toss that bitch. Well, I'll fucking knock her fucking teeth out. How's she gonna suck dick with no teeth? Man, that bitch, who the fuck she thinks she... And I was like, oh my God. And then he started saying some shit about, I don't want to repeat it, about some things that are assault-wise that he's going to do. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, this guy really, I thought it was a bit. And this dude's in the bathroom talking about he's going to straight up beat the shit out of her and do some horrible things to her.
So that apparently also happened. I think in this case, like I think your age was saying it best. We don't know if he's lying or telling the truth. But once again, this guy is a stock Twitch streamer. He trades stocks, apparently. I don't think he has any motive to lie about that. There's no reason to just go on Twitter and create some super elaborate clip for him about this incident and you're a stock Twitch streamer. It just doesn't make sense. So it might have been said. We don't know who said it. We don't know if it was someone who was actually a streamer. We don't know if it was someone who was in the audience. But if it was someone who was an actual streamer, I think some people are saying it. What's his name? Dezo or something? Is it Dez? Some people are saying it's Dez, this guy. If it was Dez, you know what I mean? Hey man, just own up to that shit. Be like, I was out of pocket. But I think your rage was talking about it then. And we gotta stop being so emotional, right? In some of these events, in some of these incidences. It was a bad joke, a harmless joke, a bad joke. Granted, it wasn't from somebody that Kai Cenat is close with, so it does feel like it's coming out of nowhere. But they were shooting shots at every major streamer that night. Every major streamer was getting shots at that night. It wasn't just, it was targeting Kai Cenat. It was everybody, right? Hassan was getting the dog collar. Your Rage was getting asked about trans jokes. And so they were going at a bunch of other streamers. But the main reason, transitioning into my next point, the main thing though, and I think why also it was a little bit more emotional, is that almost every streamer they were going after was black. It was every single streamer that was catching strays for the most part was a black streamer. And I think that's what, and it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to pick on the black streamers. It's that the black streamers are the most popular streamers right now. Just straight up. That's what it is. The black streamers are the most popular streamers at the moment, right? No ifs, ands, buts about it.
The record.
I just want to find like a good place to pause it. Not on Black Boy Max's face. Jesus. We'll pause it here. But think about who the top streamers are that are on Twitch or in that same community. We can put Aiden Ross out of it because he's on his own red pill side of streaming. He's the dark side of streaming. But you got Kai, you got Speed, and then you got basically all of AMP, right? You got RDC World, you got Your Rage, you got Silky, Face Silky, or whatever his name is, right? All of these streamers are huge, and the most popular streamers are black streamers. So of course they're going to want to make jokes about the most popular streamers. Now, or at least most popular streamers, I think, that have the most pop culture and make the most noise in regards to news cycles, right? You have popular streamers who I would say probably aren't getting talked about on news, aren't making magazines, aren't crossing over into pop culture. But a lot of the, I would say, African-American streamers are cool. They're crossing into pop culture. They're setting trends. They're creating waves. They're creating new ways to stream. They're really the ones that are, I would say, doing probably the most innovation when it comes to this space and have been making the most noise in regards to changing the way that people stream. Like Kai Cenat doing Streamer University. That's an insane concept, and he pulled it off. So I think from their perspective, they're like, these are the most popular streamers. Of course, we're going to make jokes about them, right? And then Hassan had the big dog thing. Of course, they're going to take shots at Hassan. But because of that, right, that's who they're taking shots at. Now, they're not thinking about race, right? And this is why, transitioning into why I think it's a good thing that this was a problematic streamer award, is because this, going back to streaming initially, I think it was a predominantly white space, right? Maybe the Asian community was in it, but predominantly white space for the most part, especially in America. And because you were watching World of Warcraft, you were watching League of Legends, right? It was really gaming. And while there were, I would say, black gamers, it just wasn't, the black community just wasn't as predominant on like Justin TV and Twitch early on. Then once you have this rise of black content creators starting to completely change the game, starting to actually influence pop culture, right? To where you have SZA saying chat in her songs, right? You're completely influencing pop culture. I think that this caused a massive culture shift. And so what you're getting now at the Streamer Awards, right, is this mesh of culture, right? You're having different kind of cultures happen all over Twitch stream, whereas before Twitch used to be just gaming. Now there's so many different sectors of Twitch, different communities, and even different streamers that are going to vibe with different personalities, right? Watching Hassan, you're gonna have somebody who's watching Cutie Cinderella, people that are gonna be watching Ludwig, and then you're gonna have people that watch Kai Cenat, people that watch Blackboy, people that watch Tylil, or people that watch both. But there's different now, I would say, strokes for different folks. There's different people. There's just different people to watch now, which is great, I think, for the Twitch community. But that's not going to come without problems, right? There's going to be problems when that happens, when there is a crossover. And so this is just one of those instances where you're seeing that, for example, white people do not think about race. They just don't think about race at all, right? It's just not something that crosses their mind. And I think, unfortunately for FanFan, she probably is not thinking about perception as well. When I started my first job ever out of college as a consultant, one thing that my director told me, they were like, Anthony, and I want to get some light in here. Jesus, it's so dark. It's so dark. They were like, Anthony, Twan Jovi, yo, Twan Jizzle, Twan Jove. Perception is reality. And when he said that, I don't think it resonated with me at the time because I was just like a dumb kid, fresh out of college, working. I was a big idiot and still a big idiot. But it resonated with me more and more, right? Whatever people can perceive from the outside is what reality is going to be, whether you like it or not, whether that's what you want it to be, and whether your intentions were good, right? The perception is reality. And so they weren't thinking about the African-American community. They weren't thinking about the optics. They weren't thinking about the way that some of these things looked. Now, taking a step back, right? If I don't know anything about streaming or anything that's going on, right? I see a 17-year-old getting asked what his favorite thing or recent thing he stole was, right? That's another thing, which also just sounds crazy that you're asking a 17-year-old what their most recent thing they stole was. And then I see a lot of tension back and forth. And so because of that, it just is creating now optics where this looks like one of the most racist ass events of all time. This looks insane, even though that wasn't the case, right? And so I think there's a lot of learning lessons though. And I think why it's good for the streaming community to experience this is because now Cutie Cinderella, the next time she throws this event, she has to actually think about African-American culture and how this is affected in some of the things that she does. And she's going to think about perception. It's not just about the African-American culture or African-American culture, right? It's about everything. She's going to have to take that lesson and be like, how is this going to be perceived if we do this? Or if we're going to get somebody that's going to come in and make fun of the different Twitch streamers or content creators, let's get somebody who we think is actually going to be a professional at this. That's going to attack everyone, not just like a certain type of content creator, or also make jokes that just are funny, that are straight up funny. Being funny is hard. If it doesn't land and it misses, it's bad. It can be really bad. So let's bring somebody in who's actually funny and going to make people laugh. If obviously Kevin Hart would be really expensive, right? But if you brought in maybe somebody that was a little bit less, I would say less known, but a comedian, they could have probably done a good job on it. So I think this is going to be really good for the community because when you bring everyone together, that's how you're going to learn, right? That's how you're going to realize that there needs to be improvements made in the way that the streaming community interacts with each other. And at the end of the day, for that community, they're all doing the same job and they're all actually doing great things by creating an environment that is now for everyone, where you can go watch a Twitch streamer and you can find somebody that is specifically that you can find entertaining, right? And so I think that this is one of those things where it's like we had a really good learning lesson. We had some disasters happen, and we just need to do better at now thinking about how is this going to look to the outside world if they have no context around streaming, and how do we make it a better event? And so I think it's a good thing that this happened because it is going to make, I think, the streaming community way more cohesive. Everyone's saying it's a disaster, but I really don't see it that way. I see it's a very important learning experience, and hopefully some of the content creators that felt maybe that wasn't a great experience for them continue to go to this event and just continue to help. Maybe Cutie Cinderella now is going to be like, you know what? I need to make sure I bring more Black content creators actually on the board or what have you to make this a good event. I think a lot of positive change can come from this as long as they're willing to learn and do better. And also I think once again, there were some things like that just were in poor taste also that a lot of people are going to have to learn from as well. I don't think Tyleo needed to jump in and say all that. You could relax. Like granted, he didn't do anything necessarily wrong. If you want to defend your boy, go for it, defend your mans. But look, if Kai was upset about it, he would have said something. Like, this dude's a grown man. This dude's very eloquent. Kai is like the leader when it comes to streaming right now. If he was upset about it, I doubt he would have said something, right? So you don't need to jump in and fight his battle for him. He can say something if it bothered him. And I think same thing. And then I think India Love, for example, unnecessary, right? But also, granted, she's new. I feel like newer to the fame of streaming. At least I think. I don't know. I don't watch her stream, so maybe she's been around for a while. But I know she's blown up a lot this year, and so I think that probably, of course, is getting to her a little bit. But that's just one of those learning lessons where it's like, hey, like you don't need to do all that. That's not in good taste. It makes you look bad. Don't do all that. Chill. You don't want to be known as Kanye. I think Kanye has his whole things going on. So that's my 2 cents there. I think it's interesting. I think we'll see what next year's brings. But I just want to talk about it because there was just so much drama that happened this year. But I really don't see it as a bad thing. And I think people just like to talk and create clip farms and make something bigger than it is. And I think once again, they'll learn. You have to remember, a streamer is putting this on. This is another streamer who's making this their project. It's not going to go perfect. No event ever goes perfect. And so hopefully now this is going to bring more diversity into the streamer awards and making sure that it's put on in an already diverse space. Like this space, what can be said about streaming is incredibly diverse now, which it didn't used to be. So I'm very excited about that. Very excited to see where this goes. And it was wild. Absolutely wild. Goodbye.